G'day invaders, welcome to Sin Spacies, and this is, yes, another bloody gaming podcast. Number 4, believe it or not, we've gone this far. And I've got 4 other gents this time around. No ladies answered the call out for podcasting, so don't blame me, don't judge me. It's a boys club today. And we've got Ben from, I always stuff these up, Grumpy Retro Gamer. Say hi.
Afternoon or good morning.
Evening or whatever.
Whatever time it is.
We got also Poseidon from Carbon Knights Gaming.
Hello.
We got Uncle Chunt from Uncle Chunt.
Yes.
We've also got Ash from 891.
Hi there. How you doing?
Hi.
Hey.
And we're going to get stuck right into it. These poor guys here, Ben and also Ash, they're actually all the way from the UK, and it is 1 a.m. in the morning. So I'm going to try and power through this quickly so they can hit the sack. I don't want any of them falling asleep midway through the podcast, which is on the cards. So I'm going to get started with Grumpy Retro Gamer. Ben, we always ask our guests 3 questions if they're on the channel for the first time. I'm going to start with your one here. First console and the first game that came with it.
I'm not sure whether you can really call it a console, but it was the ZX Spectrum was my first games system. I'm not sure if you guys in Australia actually are familiar with it at all. I think it originated from the UK.
It's a very British thing.
It's a very British thing.
Yeah.
It was around, but it wasn't really.
It was heard of, but not.
Yeah, it wasn't prevalent. And I did actually discuss this in length with on a video I did with Top Hat Gaming Man. So I'm well aware of how big it was in your part of the world, and I would class that as a game system. Did you do anything like accounting on it?
Not quite accounting, but everyone tried to code their own games and release their own games, but it took so much work to it would have taken probably up until this point in my life now to code a game for it.
So in other words, it was easier to just play games on it, so it's a games machine.
It had a keyboard and a tape deck. The games came on audio tapes. That's what they came on.
The keyboard was just there to load the games up.
Yeah, there was an external tape deck, and you had to wait until the whole thing fully loaded from scratch. Yeah,
I can feel your pain because I had a SC3000 Sega computer, and it was very similar from everything I've heard and seen to the Spectrum. So what game can you recall first playing on that?
The first one I fired at was one called Chucky Egg.
I actually know it.
And the whole premise was there was just a layout of some platforms, and you had to collect all of the chicken eggs, or I think they may have been geese. I'm not sure, but there were geese walking around. You couldn't bump into them. You would lose a life, and you had to collect all of the eggs to finish the level. And then it went from there.
See, kids of 2017, it's not much different now, is it?
Exactly, yeah. These all make very good mobile phone games now. They would make good mobile games, I think. But yeah. That was the first game.
Favorite game ever? You have to pick only one.
It's an obvious one. It's a cliche one, and it's Sonic the Hedgehog 2 for the Mega Drive.
Oh, okay. Nice choice.
I can just put that in and play it at any time at all. It's just not a. It's never
so
a
good.
What's your favorite level on that?
Favorite level on that is the Chemical Plant Zone.
Yeah, same. I love the music in that level.
Yeah,
it's just still memorable, still enjoyable to this day.
Music is incredible.
Pre Michael Jackson era.
Yeah, Moonwalker.
And it was before the internal fighting between Life in the Dreams, I think they call themselves, that came up with the music, who own the copyright to the Sega music, the Sonic the Hedgehog music. Sega don't actually own that, which is like, what the hell? So for me, that's also got the best music, but a lot of people disagree and they like Free. But
it holds some fond memories as well, that game. I got it for Christmas along with the Mega Drive, and it was just what a year.
Well, for me personally, the memories are from working during the launch of that. So at Sega, that was something I won't ever forget. Standing behind kids playing the games and telling them where to go, and they're looking at me going, "How do you know?" And I said, "I've already got the game. I work for Sega," and they're just like,
"What are you doing telling them where to go, mate? Jeez."
That's usually Carbon Knight's line. Anyway, so
beat me to it.
And what are you playing at the moment?
I recently picked up a Nintendo Switch. I've got the whole Nintendo Switch thing going on at the moment. So Legend of Zelda, Breath of the Wild, and last night I downloaded Rocket League for some reason.
Nice.
What do you mean? That's because it's awesome. It's very addictive. Yeah,
it's very addictive. I'm very bad at it at the moment, but it's I'm quite into that at the moment. So that is the whole Nintendo Switch thing is a big deal for me.
We've got to see if we can hook up and get a cross gameplay thing going on, cross channel. And I don't know if PC can play against Switch, but you can't party up. We'll have to work on that.
I think they are working on it.
You can't play a public game, but you can play a private game. I'm not sure with the Switch, though. I know you can with Xbox One and PC, but I'm not sure. I know you can't with
I think
PS4.
it's on the way.
Because I've done a ton of
I
videos.
think you're right.
I've done a ton of videos with you, Carbonites, and that was probably some of my more fun moments of running a channel, was those videos, putting those together.
Oh, they were a riot.
All right, so we can switch over now to 891, or Ash, your first console and game.
Hello. Yeah, so it's a very, actually quite a similar story to Ben, because of the whole sort of microcomputer thing that we had in Britain. So I had something called an Amstrad CPC machine, and it's the same thing. It's that
one had a built-in cassette player, right? The tape deck was built in. Yeah,
it was luxurious. It was slightly better than the Spectrum, but they were all crap. It was sort of like a sort of who was first amongst the losers, and no one won in the 80s microcomputers game. But that was my first game. My first proper console was a Master System, obviously, but
nice.
Yeah, it was pretty awesome.
Funnily enough, I never owned a Master System until much later. I borrowed my neighbour's one more than they owned it. Sorry, I was going to ask you, what was your first game on that Amstrad that you can recall?
Well, it's funny actually you say that, because it's the same as Ben. This is why I laughed. It's actually Chucky Egg as well. That was like...
what? The jizz? Were they giving that away or something, were they?
It was a big deal in the UK.
It was like, America had like the Cuban Missile Crisis and all this interesting stuff. We had Chucky Egg. That was most of the 80s was Chucky Egg, and Culture Club. That's pretty much all we had.
At once.
At once, yeah. It was intense.
So if you were...
You'd be amazed how well Chucky Egg and Karma Chameleon go together.
Brilliantly. I get headphones on, I crank it right up. I get Boy George in one ear, I get the soundtrack to Chucky Egg in the other, and I go for hours. It's insane. It's something special. I recommend everyone try it.
So is Chucky Egg your favourite game ever, or are you going to go with something a little more reasonable?
I think my favourite game ever, if I sort of backed into a corner, would probably have to be Deus Ex, the original one on PC, from sort of 2000. Only because it did so much stuff that no one had ever kind of really done before, and I was well into conspiracy theories at the time, and I thought it was great because, oh my god, a game about conspiracies and robots, and it had basically everything I loved when I was sort of like 13, 14 years old.
I didn't quite catch, what was the name of that one?
Deus Ex.
Oh yes, they were Yeah, sorry.
the
Yeah,
original.
I know now.
Not Deus Ex.
No, that came much later.
That's something else. That's different.
There's a bit of a push to see if they can get another sequel up and running for that, but nothing on the cards yet has been noted. But they have come out and stated that they're not abandoning the franchise, that they will revisit it, but they've just got other priorities at the moment. So I think that will be a case of watch
I think
this
they messed
space.
the last one up a little bit. The last game.
The sales weren't all that great.
Yeah, the franchise has gone quiet, hasn't it? That one. It's gone a bit quiet, hasn't
Yeah.
it? The franchise, yeah.
Yeah, and I think from memory they released it at a time when there was huge, big releases coming out at that time, and it just got drowned, which is an overly common story these days. And you look at this Assassin's Creed coming out, the last one, just as Mario Odyssey dropped as well. Like, everyone's talking about Mario Odyssey, and it just drowns out the talk about Assassin's Creed. And what do you?
I haven't even played my copy yet.
You'll get to it.
Yeah.
And what are you currently playing there, Ash?
It's a very similar response, yeah. And I've recently and I'm playing the crap out of it. Currently, it's mostly Doom, which is
Switch,
I had a revelation, that I could play Doom while on the toilet, and that's been a major turning point in my life last few months. So
Wow.
yeah, no, I don't exclusively play it on the toilet. It's just I know the options are open to me now, so it's a big bucket list.
Hey, if that's what you want to do, you do you, man. Like, you don't have to justify.
We're all friends here. It's all fine.
All right, so I think we kick into our topics. The very first topic that we've got on the agenda. We've got Christmas coming up, and I've got a few funny Christmas stories of really crap presents and really awesome presents. But I thought I would get started with Carbon. What's been your favourite, or I guess you could say most memorable gaming present for either the right reasons or the wrong reasons?
Back in PS2 era, my sister was all excited because her boyfriend at the time said, "Hey, your brother likes video games. He's going to love this game. It's going to blow his mind." She was all excited to give it to me, and it was a game called Black. And it was just some generic piece of crap shooter that I did not enjoy at all.
I remember saying, I was going to say, I remember hearing people say good things about that.
I've actually heard good things about it, but
not from you.
Yeah, that's about it.
That's got to be your next Let's Play series then.
I don't have it anymore. I don't know where it is. I know I sold one copy at some point, but I don't know. I had two eventually. But
Chunt, what about yourself?
Oh, look, it's kind of a double-edged sword. I got a Pokemon 64 back in the day, like the Pokemon-themed Nintendo 64, but no game. So I was like, yeah, this is awesome. Yeah, I was like, this is man, awesome. But,
I'm just going to stare at it.
It looks so cool.
It's really pretty. Yeah. So, but to my parents' credit, I mean, it was expensive at the time, but we went down and just hired out a few games because they weren't sure what game I wanted. So they said, "Yeah, look, we know there's no games, but let's go down to Blockbuster or whatever, and we'll hire out a few games for the day, and then you can figure out what you want." So it wasn't too bad, but at the time you're like, "Oh, this is," it's like if someone cut off their feet and was given like 2 pairs of shoes for their birthday, and you're like, "Well, thanks for the shoes, they're really nice, but I have no feet to put them on."
So this is why the Master System was so cool and had the maze game in it, the snail maze game, inbuilt.
I wish they did more like that. That'd be great.
Yeah. All right. So Ben, yourself, have you got any stories relating to presents?
Yeah, there's sort of a couple of opposites really. I mentioned Sonic the Hedgehog 2 just earlier.
Yeah.
That was my favourite game to receive as a Christmas present. I think I might have been 12 at the time, and I had a Mega Drive console and Sonic 1 and 2 gifted for Christmas. That was probably the best gaming. Yeah, it was just what a day. Christmas lunch didn't come down for it. I didn't attend Christmas dinner. No point. Yeah, and but the negative side, I think it may have been the following year. I think I received. I think it was another Mega Drive game. I think it was Street Fighter 2 as a gift. Unwrapped it, opened the box, and the game wasn't in it.
What?
Because what happened was, it might be the same in other retailers across the world, but the games were kept behind the counter when you purchased them.
Yeah.
So you take the case up, and obviously whoever was serving mum at the time didn't put the game in. So back then, shops were not open. Shops weren't open on Boxing Day.
Oh, okay.
They just weren't open. I couldn't go the next day.
Here in Australia, because I used to work at the Gainsman, which is a big
Devastating.
the Gainsman store in Sydney is a big shop here. That's probably one of the longest retro gaming stores anywhere, really. And I used to work Boxing Day, and that was our biggest day. And it was mostly people coming in with refunds or wrong size, wrong format. It was just
Refund day.
It was returns day, yeah. And but the reason why I mentioned that is that I used to be really mindful to make sure I didn't put the wrong game, like Sonic 2 in Sonic 1 or stuff up something like that. So for that guy that served you to do that to you, that's a bit of a dud act.
Well, in the UK in the early 90s, generally a games store or a music and game store wouldn't be open on Boxing Day. Shops just weren't open on bank holidays back then, and we couldn't have just gone to the store the following day on Boxing Day just to rectify it.
That's just weird, because that's our biggest day. That would back then it was one of our biggest days. That's just insane. What about you, Ash? You got any stories there?
Yeah, mine's kind of sort of related. So, one actually wasn't given anything. I was given some money. So my birthday's quite near Christmas, and it was the first year I received at the time what I thought was a substantial amount of money. I was sort of 15 or however I was. So I went and bought myself. I thought I'm going to get on board and get into the future, and I'll buy myself a Dreamcast because that's a safe bet, and it's going to be around forever. So yeah, I went and bought a Dreamcast, and it was great. I absolutely love the Dreamcast. It's a fucking just an incredible console. I loved it, and the interesting thing was I had probably a couple of £100 when I was like a young teenager. So that's all the money I knew back then. Wow! I was buying, and a load of them sucked. They're crap. And I was buying from Electronics Boutique, which doesn't exist in the UK anymore. But back then they were kind of on the rocks. And every time I'd buy a game, it would suck. I'd take it back, and they'd give me the original retail price for it in the return. So I'd buy it for £15, and they'd give me like 60 back. And this happened 5 or 6 times. And it kept on happening. It was like this weird sort of luck thing. I was making a profit, and I'd argue with them saying, like, no, I paid less for it. And they go, no, this is how much we owe you. So over the course of that Christmas, I sort of played a massive amount of the Dreamcast library, and then chance it at EB trying to return it and get more money back to buy another game. It was awesome. And I had my Dreamcast forever. It was the most successful console in history.
So you're responsible for the EB going under the water then.
Yeah,
pretty much single-handedly. Yeah,
single-handedly.
I built a crime empire buying Mac and X and Steve.
So still got mine.
Yeah,
I've got my original. Yeah.
And
I had my original.
I was just talking about how the modem part comes off, which Ben wasn't aware until I think he's got to have another look at his. But yeah, the modem, we got the dud modem. But I've got a video on that. I won't waste too much time on talking about the Dreamcast. I've got that on the channel somewhere. Probably best to kick straight into the second topic, which is just recently we saw, actually it was just last night, a new Nintendo cereal And I think someone here, it was Ash, that pointed out they should have called them Marios.
That was genius.
I thought
I know.
missed opportunity.
that would have been golden. But we've seen breakfast cereals in the past, gaming related. That's nothing new. But what the mind blowing part about this one was the box itself doubles as an amiibo. That's golden. I don't know what you can unlock, but I don't care. I just like the concept. So, has anyone got any suggestions?
I just like the idea of the amiibo bit being right in the middle of the packet and some kid having to rub this entire cereal packet up against the front of the Switch until he finds a sweet spot. But maybe I'm evil. Maybe I just want to.
Or maybe the amiibo is one of the cereals and you have to make sure you don't choke on it. That's it.
Yeah, exactly. One's got an NFC chip inside.
So, has anyone got any suggestions? The question was going to be, is there anything else you would like to see turned into an amiibo? I think I've got an idea, but anyone else?
The whole Toys to Life thing, I've avoided it with great efforts because I know for a fact if DC Comics brought out like a Toys to Life service, I would just be like, sell my legs, sell my hands, give it to me now. If they decided to like partner up with DC Comics and Nintendo to do an amiibo thing, I'd be like, well, story's over. I'm now going to die of starvation, and I'll not pay rent.
But at least I have my toys to keep me company.
Exactly, man. Like, priorities.
Absolutely.
I don't actually play with them, but they're just cool to look at. That's
I think they're so cool.
my angle. And I've been seeing some of the ones that they've got for the new Lord of the Rings, Breath of the Wild, sorry. And some of those amiibos are getting chunky, man. Like they're supposed to be only like little tiny things like this, but some of the Breath of the Wild ones, they're double the size, triple the size, what we're normally used to seeing.
They're like the big Guardian.
Yeah, the Guardian, that's a big one. I think it's
yeah.
in a big box, yeah.
I was kind of thinking I'd like to see, I don't know, beer turn into an amiibo. Grog.
That sounds really kid friendly.
Yeah, why not? Kids don't play games. Who said that?
Amiibo. No. Video games are wasted on children.
They're wasted on children?
Absolutely, because they get sticky fingers and they're not as smart. They can't do maths as well as me or write as well as me.
So
They
yeah,
need to try
kids
hard.
should have nice
on
things.
Xbox
Live.
Kids definitely shouldn't have nice things. Absolutely, that's
Well, I don't know. Did any of you guys look after your stuff as well as you should have? Because I was just talking while setting this up. I've got back here, I know it's up there, the very first Sega game ever released, Borderline for the SC3000. And the box, I still got the box, but it's not, it was one of those cardboard boxes, so they kind of get ripped up and shredded up. So, is anyone here really particular about the way they look after their stuff, like from way back, or are we all guilty of not really caring enough?
I was when I was a kid. I especially with the Mega Drive. I've still got my original Mega Drive games boxed, and they're in perfect condition after all this time. It's 20 plus years that I've had them. And at the time, I do remember thinking, these aren't going to be around forever. I may as well keep them nice and pristine and still use them. But I just had this idea that they were just super limited. I don't know why. At the time when I was 12 or 13, I thought that video games are just going to die out. That's what I thought. I thought it was all just going to stop.
Wow.
I didn't think
it's pretty unrealistic perspective to have at that age.
Yeah, I never had
reached it.
I never had an outlook like that. To me, it was just like I grew up with gaming. Gaming was just always there.
I've got some originals. Yeah, actually, yeah. They're all,
what have you got?
that's what I thought. I thought it's not going to get much better than this. We've reached it, and then the video game industry will just sort of peter out. But obviously that didn't happen.
And we played the hell out of our stuff.
Time.
Like I think we knew like they had value, but we just played the hell out of everything. Like even toys and stuff. Like I still, until recently, I still had a lot of toys I grew up with, and they're still working and in good condition, but they were obviously used and played, and they're loved. That's what I like to call it.
Well, I've got two really good examples here of how a game should have been packed and how it should not be packed. So we've got Rugby League with Fitler on the front, and from EA Sports of all people, and it's a plastic cover, so that one's not going to go bad anytime soon. Where's the cartridge going? It's around somewhere. But so that's one way of looking after the games. And then you've got also on the Mega Drive Populous, which was one of the rare. Also from EA when they first started, you can see it's all tattered, and this is a cardboard box. So it gives you an idea of it. It all comes down to the packaging.
I didn't realise you could get Mega Drive games in cardboard. I didn't know they did that.
Originally, when they very first started out, you had this, the Immortal, and there was a handful of other games that they were releasing before they went to this format. The box itself, the cartridge itself is the same with the yellow thing to separate them from the other carts. It's just the packaging was different.
That's what used to annoy me.
I remember Sonic and Knuckles.
Yeah, really annoyed me.
And you mentioned that I've only got the cart. I have not got the box.
I've still got it boxed. I still have it boxed, but it's tatty. It's just it's in such a state.
Yeah, it's such a shame.
All my Mega Drive stuff is in good condition, or I kept it. There's a time I sort of plateaued. Like my Mega Drive games, which are hard wearing and made out of plastic and cartridges, I took really good care of. And then by the time I got to a PS1, I was just like leaving stacks of discs on top of each other, and they're getting scratched up and stuff.
Oh, that makes me ill. No, I never did that.
Here's the worst bit though, right? At one point, and this is what everyone was doing at the time, because boxes were rubbish, right? And also, I think in the EU and maybe Australia, I'm not sure, maybe probably Australia as well, with the really crappy cases. In the US, they had proper regular CD dual cases. And with the crappy ones that used to break, so everyone used to take their discs out of the boxes and put them in these big sleeves.
Yeah.
Individually, I lost a sleeve full of PS1 games, and separately I lost all the boxes as well, because I'm obviously an idiot. So that entire PS1 collection just disappeared, never to be seen again.
What about you, Carbon? Any issues with keeping on to your older stuff, or?
Well, I don't have any of it anymore.
Well, that's one way that's one way to deal with the problem, isn't it?
Well, no, it was more. We didn't have a lot of gaming stuff when I was a kid, but I had all kinds of Transformers and Ninja Turtles and stuff. But I was the kind of kid who you can make a parachute out of a Ninja Turtle if you just tie a plastic bag to it and throw it up in the air as high as you can. Sometimes they didn't open. And we used to have all the little die-cast cars. We'd have a smash-up derby with a hammer, because we didn't know they were worth anything.
What? With a hammer? What were you trying to simulate?
I was just wrecking my future. That's what I'm going to call it.
All right. And I think we'll probably end up wrapping up with Game of the Year predictions. What has been 2017's highlights for you guys? Me personally, I'm going to be cliche, and it's a game I've hardly touched, but I do want to give it some time. Ironically, I run a gaming channel because I love gaming, but because I'm running a gaming channel, I can't get time to game. So the game that I really want to highlight is the obvious one, and I hate to be cliche, Breath of the Wild. It is such a huge step forward for that franchise, and they really did everyone a favor, I think, by getting away from the I guess you could say, what is it, 30 years now? Or 25 years? It's a long time anyway. They've been using the same formula. And it was good to see that they gave that game, the franchise, a bit of a working over with the open world. Which is kind of weird that Nintendo were one of the first to really push open world gaming with Ocarina of Time. And then here we are, 2017, saying, "Oh, isn't it good to see that Nintendo are finally going to open world?" But what about yourself, there, Ben? Have you got a nomination for Game of the Year?
got to apologise. It's the same title, Breath of the Wild. When I look at my Switch profile and I see that I've racked up 90 plus hours on it, I only actually bought it recently. I didn't buy it on release date. I think that just goes to show how much of an important title it is when you sort of, instead of when you're trying to get to do the main quest, you get sidetracked on all these other side quests, and
Totally.
It just goes to show, 90 plus hours in a couple of months. That's to me, for a Nintendo title, that says it all, really.
What about yourself there, Chris? Chunt, sorry.
Look, it's going to be 3 for 3. Like, I was sitting there while you guys were talking, thinking about it, and even before we did this, thinking about it. And I went through my games thinking what stood out the most. But to me, I never actually finished a Zelda game in my life, and I barely played many of the other Zeldas. I think I dabbled a bit in Ocarina of Time on 64, but I never actually got around to finishing one.
Right.
And so when I got Breath of the Wild, I gave it a shot because I was like, well, whatever. Everybody's hyping it up and talking about it. My brother's super excited. I may as well jump in on this hype train. And it was the first game that really stood out to me this year, and still does, of me eagerly wanting to go home and play it after work and sinking hours into it. And I haven't really played a game like that since this year. And I finished it, and I was like, wow, okay. So that was I could say Breath of the Wild would pretty much be my first Zelda game, if you really wanted to be technical on it.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it thoroughly. And so, yeah, like, it still stands out as the only game I can think of off the top of my head gave me that kind of long-lasting experience where I still look back to that favorably amongst other games. Like, there's so many that came out this year that I loved, but that one still stands out to me.
What about yourself there, Ashley?
Hello. Sorry, I disappeared for a second, so I've missed everyone's answers up until this point.
I think you can predict it.
My game, yeah, pretty much. I am actually going to say something probably even more expected and makes me sound like an idiot. But I'm going to say it's actually Super Mario Odyssey for me. I think is the best game of the year.
Wow.
Only because I can't remember the last time I've played anything that's made me smile that much as an adult playing a video game. And there's certain bits in that game where you are literally grinning to yourself and laughing and making you smile, so joyous and fun. And it's also a really damn good game. It properly threw me back to being sort of when I was like a kid playing Mario games or whatever on my Game Boy. I had that same sort of feeling for the first time, being like this sort of jaded old man now. I actually smiled for once.
That's so cool.
Who are you calling old?
Yeah, right.
I know, right?
And what about yourself there, Poseidon?
I don't think I've played a game that came out in 2017, if I'm being honest.
Oh.
But judging by what I've seen...
What an absolute lad.
Well, I don't own any next-gen consoles, and my PC, it's a little old, but I'm waiting for one part till that is rectified, and it's in the mail. So hopefully very soon.
If you were to, I was going to say, if you were to pick a game that's been released,
because I watch a lot of Let's Plays, so I think I'd go with Cuphead. It looks like it's so much fun, and I absolutely love the animation.
That's because you haven't played it.
It's. I know I would hate it as soon as I played it, which is why I got to give it now.
I've been playing that recently. I've been playing that recently. Like, I bought it when it came out, but I never got around to touching it until in the last few weeks, and it will test you. I'll say that much. But the reward
so hard.
of actually, like when you beat the challenge or the actual challenge of playing the game, it's rewarding, and you get that sense of, because you've played this level 20 times to get it right enough to beat it. You're like, oh my god, there's that sense of satisfaction, which reminds me of like older games that we grew up with, where there are no checkpoints, there are no retries, that kind of stuff. And once you beat it,
if you guys want to watch, if you guys want to watch a game that brings that to light, my Let's Play on Super Ghouls and Ghosts on the Super Nintendo.
Oh.
Wow, that's just, it's like bashing your head against the wall, that game. And I don't have a second, I don't know what's happened to it. I have a second Super Nintendo controller, but I don't know where it's gone to. But you need 2 Super Nintendo controllers to activate the level select code. And so I'm stuffed totally. But the mini, it's on the mini Super NES, and you can do the save points. So at least that is one sane way, or a better way to keep your sanity, is to play it through the Super NES Mini, because you can do the save points. If you stuff up, just go back to the last save point. All right,
Hand holding.
Call it what you want, but that's 2017.
Oh, I know, man. I know. Sometimes you just need it, man. Life's too tough
I know,
already. You don't need that,
and to everyone that go, oh, it was a lot harder in my day, these kids have got it soft, they were the same people calling me up on the Sega hotline asking for cheats on every game that they had.
Echo the Dolphin, anyone?
Oh, don't. So I think we're going to wrap
That
up.
game, I have no idea what's about to this day.
Echo, it's
What's
about
that?
drugs and a dolphin and defending aliens against it was messed up.
You're a,
It's a
you're a
really
dolphin
weird
and
game.
you're
Yeah,
screwed.
DJ Slopes did a really good video on the actual story behind that game, and that in itself is more interesting than the plot of Echo the Dolphin. It's just bizarre.
Oh, by far.
So I'm going to start with Ash. What have you got currently coming up on your channel? Anything interesting or?
Yeah, actually. So I'm working on a bunch of bigger, longer form video things and writing scripts and stuff. So I've not been putting much up recently because I'm trying to write bigger episodes about more topic-based stuff rather than doing Let's Plays. And that's a pain in the bum because they take ages and most of the ideas are crap and you only find out after you've been writing them for about 3 days. So yeah, there's a bunch of longer form videos coming on the way, I think, about my opinions on stuff, which I'm sure everyone's interested in.
By the way, I did like your James Pond playthrough or lack of playthrough.
That game. I couldn't understand it.
I've
I just
always
couldn't understand
always figured that the best thing about that game was the music, and that's it.
Yeah.
And that's
Otherwise,
that's
it's completely
about
perplexing.
Yeah, exactly. What about grumpy retro gamers?
Well, it's some of you may be aware that I do the channel with one of my best friends, Chris, and although we don't get enough time together to actually do videos as we'd like to, we're going to try and sway away from the Let's Plays and go more towards, I think, the sort of comedy videos. We used to be quite big on doing sort of sketch videos back in the day, like when we started our channel last year. I think we're going to go back to that and come up with more sort of sketch videos of comedy and also some more music videos, which we've put together some sort of rap reviews of recent games.
I'm only smiling here, not because I'm laughing at what you're saying, but I'm just thinking at some of the videos you've put up. They're an absolute crack up, and especially you had one where you're playing against each other in Super Strikers Mario on the GameCube, and you're basically going at each. Yeah, is that the very first?
Yeah. Very first video.
Isn't it funny how it's one of your best? But I was also just watching some of your other stuff, especially the one that you pulled a prank on him with the, what did you call it? I mean, I'd call that a fart gag, but you called it something, a poof, no, something else.
A pooter.
A pooter.
It's called a pooter. Yeah. There's a YouTuber who he took out a patent on it, and he sells them from his channel. And he does prank videos of him using this little fart toy in public.
Seriously, you guys have got to watch that video. It is a crack up, and it deserves way more views. And Carbon, what about yourself? I know you've been. I got to say, the video that you had for Red Dead Redemption, and you had all those dudes chasing you, and you had one of the guys just leap up in the air. And it was just like, it was just an what the hell moment, but you turned it into something much more spectacular.
Oh yeah, we that took 3 hours to do for like 1 minute of.
It's totally worth it.
But
You
I like how
milked it. You totally milked that.
My computer was, oh man, it was so hot against my leg. I was afraid something was gonna catch on fire if I kept going editing anymore. But yeah, I thought it turned out well. It's just like a one-off joke from Torch saying we should show it again 6 times. So I was like, I could do better than 6.
Like you initially had it with Benny Hill Yakety Sack, and you went, nah, that's anyone can do that. Let's ramp this up to the next level.
Yeah, I forget what all the songs are called actually.
Jump
The one I
Around,
didn't know,
Jump,
dude.
Motley Crue. Was it? No, not Motley Crue. Jump.
No, it was Crisscross and
Jump.
I always forget who sings "Jump Around."
It's cross.
No,
House of
Jump
House of
Around,
Pain.
House of Pain. Yeah.
Yeah, House of Pain. That's
And
right.
the reason why I like-
always forget that.
The reason why I like that game because when it came out, I was working for Sega, and there's a mention of Sega in that song. You try to play me out like my name was Sega.
Yep,
So
it's a good tune. That's why I couldn't believe I couldn't remember who sang it right there. Or who rapped it, I guess. I don't know if it counts as singing, but whatever.
Speaking of House of Pain, what's happening in the House of Chunt?
Oh, lots of pain. Just inflicted to myself alone in my bedroom. No, look, I'm just I'm documenting my life, moving to Brisbane, setting up my new place, setting up my game room, the trials and tribulations. Every now and then I'll upload a kind of vlog of just, something spontaneous, my thoughts as I'm going, and just like health related like progress. And so I'm kind of doing a mixed match of things where some personal goals, game room goals, setting up my new place. And that's all kind of leading up until when I can actually get back into my office when it's set up properly and start doing like my more traditional content that I was doing, like more opinion based videos or thoughts, presentations, dabble back into some Let's Plays, and just more kind of topical stuff, which I used to do, which I'm really keen to get back to. But I thought, well, during this downtime, while I'm putting all that together, I may as well use it. And even just for myself personally, when I can look back at things like maybe 5 years later, I can go back to, what was I doing at that time, and just documenting life moments, that kind of stuff and thoughts. That's kind of what I'm up to at the moment.
So for me, I've got. I'm going to get started. I keep putting it off, but I will get started. I'm doing my life in gaming, but I've renamed the series. Gaming Since Spacies is the name of the series, where I'll be looking at every year of gaming that I started, which was since Space Invaders. So Space Invaders was 1978. I did an introduction to the series, so I did from 74 to 77, just as a sneak preview. But the real, I want to make it a decent video series. There's not much to talk about in 1978, so I'm going to be trying to work with what little information there is from that era, and I'll be doing then 79.
There was lots of Pong.
There was lots of Pong.
Lots of Pong, yeah.
I wasn't sure you said Pong or porn. I was just
Pong, lad. Pong as far as the eye can see.
But
I was hoping you'd say porn.
Yeah. So space.
It was the 70s, wasn't it?
Well, 78. Yeah. So yeah. So 79, 80, and I think as that series gets along, it will become a little more topical or contentious as people disagree with the game of the year that I give out for that year. It's going to be interesting. Also, I've got. I'm continuing on. Oh my god, I'm really tired of saying this game's name. The Sega Mega Drive Ultimate Collection. That's about 40 odd games. I'm only halfway through. I can't wait to get through it so I can put it behind me and put it to bed.
Spirits.
But there's a lot of stuff that I want to get. And next year, 2018, I want to get out all my Megazone magazines and Hyper magazines, which were big gaming magazines here in Australia at the time, and pull out each issue and go through the adverts that were appearing in that era, the prices that were being shown, and also my articles that were in those magazines to see if my opinions hold up still true today in 2017. So it'll be an interesting look.
Good.
Interesting look
sounds
back
good.
at what garbage I wrote back then and what I think of that garbage now. Well, guys, I think you lot in the UK, it's what, 2 a.m. now? You guys are going to get to bed.
Oh yeah.
Was it Friday night there?
No, it's Saturday morning.
Oh yeah,
Technically,
Saturday. You guys used to
Yeah.
be cool, and now you're getting old. You're going to bed at 1 and 2. That's usually when people
Like
get
2 in the
started.
morning. Yeah.
Yeah.
Man, I passed out on my couch at about 11:30 last night.
Normally, I had my Ovaltine and I've gone to bed by now.
Oh my god, you still got Ovaltines over there. Well, anyway,
Wow, I haven't had Ovaltine for ages.
a
It
big
never
shout.
left us.
I'd like to give a big shout out to my patrons. Have you guys got patrons? Do you want to give a shout out to?
We do, but we haven't looked at it for a while.
Look after your patrons.
I'd have to double check.
Uh,
I'll say thank you to Shrimpy in particular. They know who they are.
who was that?
Shrimp.
Okay.
The Chris Shrimp. They know who they are.
All right then.
The fish.
Okay. Well,
Yeah.
thanks guys for turning up to this one, and yeah, I've been gaming since Spacies. My name has been Brian, and I'll catch you in the next one. Cheers, guys.
Bye.